Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. This video is going to be things to come. I'm just about to start watering my ordinary pots, which is obviously the bulk of what's out here, or a good proportion of it. I might not get it all done today. Today is Wednesday, it's lunchtime, so it's highly likely I'll fizzle out halfway through the afternoon. But I'm just looking for, spikes, buds, some new growths on plants that haven't done anything for a while. Just a general sort of look around the pots. These were they weren't watered last time effectively. They were given a good soak with the fungicide. So this is like a little feed session in between their second treatment of fungicide, because I need to leave a reasonable gap between the two and not squash it up together. So this will be made up of lots of little clips of things to come. Oops. And everything's on at the moment, the fans, fogger. I'll see what I can do. I know this is a project plant, Miltonia Sunset, so we didn't look at it that long ago, but I just wanted to, that's the fogger up my trouser leg, just look at the progress of the roots on the new growths. Even this smallest new growth is now pushing on roots. So this one's doing really well, and boy is that dry. So this was included in the fungicide treatment on the grounds it was heavily infected. So it gets included in the treatment program because it's in a pot and it's an Oncidium alliance, which are prone. So it's coming on well. I would suggest that's going to fully recover in the not too distant future, and it's highly likely to bloom on every single one of those new growths. We shall see. Alright, this is the monster that normally lives up the back of the shelf and gets filmed through the jungle, but as it's come down to water it, I thought we could have a closer look round. I've got quite a few spikes coming on this. This is how they start, just a nubbin. You can see this cane's already had 3 spikes on it in the past and it hasn't finished blooming yet. These were last year's spikes, I suspect. Same on this one, spikes that have been before, and a nice new one coming out here. One progressing a little bit further here. You can see the tiny little buds coming, and if you look up on this cane at the back, that spike's pushing out. I presume you can see these spikes, can you? I got one suggestion for people who can't see stuff I'm filming: get a bigger screen or a pair of spectacles. Now, I do appreciate those Jenkinsii spikes were small, but you must be able to see these, surely, yeah? So that, that little area's got some cane spikes pushing on quite nicely. This cane here got another spike pushing on quite nicely. So we're going to have a lot of blooms on this. The spikes tend to push up and often arch over, and you can see the sort of numbers of particular blooms per spike. If you look at that spike there, 2, 4, 6, 8, there's probably 10 buds on that little spike. Yeah, so we're going to have a lot of blooms on that soon, and these will be my first blooms. It was in bloom when I got it, which was probably this sort of time last year, or maybe a bit later in the year, and these will be my first blooms that I've grown. The blooms that were on it when I got it were fading fast, so I didn't get to see them for long. They probably got filmed back around that time, but anyway, the plant's grown nicely. Pushed up 3 new canes, here, here and here. Had to get over its repot and division. The older part of the plant, I potted it on the grounds I thought it might push up some new growth, but it didn't, it keeled over. So I'm left with this piece. It's filled its pot with roots, absolutely filled its pot with roots. So it's in a good position this year to push up, at least 2 or 3 new growths, I would suspect. And we'll see how it progresses. But actually, I think that was a new growth last year as well. So it actually pushed up a cane here, and then these 2 here. So it's got at least 2 growing areas, or 2 growing points that new growth should come up from. So hopefully we'll get at least 4 new growths this year, maybe more. But it is a bit of a monster. I'd say the plant is over 2 feet tall, plus it's in quite a large pot to accommodate it. So it's quite a big one, this one. And a lot of chrysotoxums don't look this big, but they can grow large. it's a matter of, this was a very large plant when I got it, and obviously it had been grown well and into a large, extensive plant. And we're going to reap the benefits soon with all these wonderful blooms. It's going to look good, I think. I do wonder about my eyesight sometimes. Well, not the eyesight, the level of concentration, we'll call it. This is the largest piece of the Shari Baby. I've just picked it up, looked at it, watered it, and put it down. Nothing to say. Now I've picked it up to put it back on the shelf. It's got a spike. It's funny, as I was watering it, I was thinking this hasn't bloomed for a while. Well, it's going to bloom anyway. We have a small spike. Again, this hasn't that long been in its pot. You know, it's a plant got divided back last year. And I have no new growths on this plant, nothing new. But obviously this growth was new last year, and it's now matured enough to push out a spike. Shari Baby grown well can often push out a spike on both sides. Mine tend to only do it on one side. Spotting, we had a discussion on that, yeah? It is a form of infection, yeah? And it can be not cured, but you can stop it getting any worse with a fungicide. Simple as that. And you can stop it happening in the first place by regular use of a fungicide. But certainly with the fungicide I've got, there's a limited number of times you can use it in any given year. And whether that will be enough to stop the spotting completely, I don't know. But these are older leaves on older growths. I mean, this is the oldest growth on the plant. That's going to drop those 2 leaves soon. And leave the ones mainly from last year and the year before. So anyway, we have a Shari Baby spike. Woohoo! Chocolate. Right, this is my Coelogyne cristata, and given that practically everybody else I know that's got one has currently got theirs in bloom, I'm not sure mine is going to bloom. But if it's going to bloom, then that's a spike, and there's another one, yeah, that's a spike down there, and that's it. That's all I can see that's new, yeah? So those could be new growths. I got no guarantee either way, but at the moment I can only see 2. Oh no, there's a third one down in the middle there. There's another one down in there. So there's 3 somethings on the go. It would be nice if that was 3 flower spikes, but if it's going to bloom on those spikes, it's flipping late compared with others. Anyway, if it's growing something, it's going to start needing some water and feed, because it hasn't had much over the winter. I've been keeping it pretty dry, but not so dry as the pseudobulbs shrivel. I've still got very plump pseudobulbs, so it's had enough, which is good, you know, because these do desiccate quite badly if you dry them off too much, and then they refuse to plump up again. So the plant's healthy, it's just a matter of whether those are spikes or not. We shall see, but you know, they're only just starting. Perhaps a kick with a bit of feed might get them going a bit better. We shall see. Oh, I've just seen another one. There. 4. I bet if I look even more, there might even be more. But anyway, 4 somethings growing. We shall see what they are. Could be some of each, I suppose. This might not look much, but this plant's important to me. It's in a serious state of rescue. I had rotten pseudobulbs. I had to grab it really quick, and I ended up with one manky bulb that wasn't too clever and a poor quality new growth pushing on that did actually carry on growing. But the important thing now is we have another new growth and new roots. So I think it's going to make it. That one's important to me purely because it would be impossible to get again, and the blooms are just gorgeous. So it looks like it's seriously recovering. That new growth, if that gets up to somewhere near full size with a root system to go with it, then that's it, it's rescued. It should then grow on. I can't remember, well, it was rotten pseudobulbs, but why it happened, I think, at the time, it was probably in its pot too long, so staying wet. You know, although the Odontoglossum is now oncidiums, I know, but they do tend to be cooler growers. And if you've got cooler growing plants, you know, in a mix of small bark and moss, during the winter time, it takes too long for them to dry. So it pays to not give them much water in the winter, otherwise their roots stay soggy. So anyway, it's on the mend, or it looks like it is. Now this Cattleya you will have hardly ever seen. This one came out of Big Box Junior, which was some additional plants that Beatrix sent me as a thank you for looking after what was in the big box. I've been waiting for this one. You know what I've always said, the bifoliate Cattleyas are super sensitive to getting a repot at the wrong time. So I've been watching it, and I wasn't quite sure, but whether this was a lead, which it could be, there is a sign of swelling, but this was definitely the main lead. Yeah, well, that's now pushing a new growth, and it's just starting some new roots. So it's a little bit early, but in the very near future you'll be off to the kitchen, and that is Cattleya Leopoldi. So it's a species which I know absolutely nothing about, but at this time I don't need to know anything about it. All I need to know is it's a bifoliate, it's a Cattleya, and it's going to need coming out of this pot because I don't know what's in it. It's only been allowed to stay in there because this bark is rock hard, but what's down at the bottom of the pot I don't know. But so far so good. All this bark is quality bark. There's nothing wrong with it. That's why it's been left. Otherwise I'd have taken the risk. If there was any signs of this media breaking down, I'd have just gone ahead. But we do have a new growth and new roots. So obviously I can make a note that on this plant the new roots come with the new growth. Now that's a pattern it will probably stick to. It might not, might change its mind next time round. But it's good to know, you know, that new growth and new roots come together on this one. But I'm not going to pot it yet. Those roots are fragile. They're only just starting. I think there's certainly 3 I can see, and I think there's another 1 or 2 down in underneath. But I'd like them to get a bit longer than that, so that when I repot it, they will be in the media and it can get going nice and quickly. These are super sensitive. Why, I don't know, but they just are. I don't think I've ever had a bifoliate that's been repotted without new roots that hasn't lost its root system, and that's going back over many years. It goes back to the time when I didn't even think about such things. I just used to get on and repot it and not worry about whether there was new roots. I certainly do now. That cost me a few plants. So certainly in the Cattleya Alliance, those new roots are important, and as is the timing. So it's got to be worth waiting for, and if you have an inkling that your media is going to break down before that time comes, then you should have done it last time. It's like that old expression with your Paphiopedilums, you know. If it looks like it needs watering, you should have done it yesterday. Anyway, coming soon, that'll be a repot, Big Box Junior 1, and that'll be good to see new growth on it. Yeah, now, I mean, it's a division obviously, not a seedling, and it's got good leaves on all of the bulbs I've got. So it's a good, healthy, strong plant, and I'm not going to mess that up. So we'll get that one out in the kitchen probably in about 2 weeks, I would say, around that time. It's on the list. Now, it's always a bit of a wahoo moment when a plant does something you just don't expect on the good side. You know, you don't expect it to just die for no reason, but they do. But this plant has already bloomed there, and I did not know they could do that. Certainly this one hasn't before. That one's not doing it. But that old cane there is pushing out a bud. Highly unlikely to be a kiki. This old cane here looks like it's going to do it as well. Now these normally bloom straight out the apex. That's what it's always done in the past. And this is the latest growth, and the top of it, the apex, doesn't actually look that happy at the moment. Maybe it's just got a small terminal leaf, or couldn't make its mind up whether it would finish growing or not. Now this is it's got no tag. Oh yes, it has got a tag. I was going to say, I know it's an infundibulum cross, and it's infundibulum cross with Lowii. I will put a pop up but you won't get the impression of the scale. You can see the colour, pristine white with gold yellow in the centre. Yes, you can see that. But what you can't see are those blooms are like 2.5 inches across. For the size of the plant, they're massive. And this is a black hair type. Now I've got to deal with Insa's request. Could I say the difference between the black hair types, the Latoria types, and one of the others? Quite honestly, there's hardly any difference worth talking about. There really isn't. They come from similar areas, similar temperature ranges. They like to be cosily warm, not freezing cold. They do like a bit of a drop in temperature in the winter, but not dramatic. Don't freeze their whatnots off. And obviously, like all our orchids, I'm going to keep saying this till it sinks in, including with me, drier in winter. Yeah, not dry, drier. They come from a two-season environment where they get a wet season, growing season, where it's warm and wet. And then the rains dry off, yeah, and they get a drier, cooler season when they don't get anywhere near so much water. And that's their, I won't call it a rest, but that's their not doing so much season. And you find an awful lot of those that are drier in winter. They respond to the warmer days. Why do you think that might be? Well, it's when the insects get going again, isn't it? It's when the pollinators start to get about. So that's probably what this one's up to. But you can't do a hard and fast rule with any of these. They'll bloom when they're good and flipping ready, quite honestly. And I wasn't expecting this one to do that on old canes that have already bloomed. Boy, does that need a repot. But I've been waiting for signs of new roots at the base of that latest growth. And I've been waiting an awful long time. This came from a friend, so I know where it came from, and I know he's quite heavy with grit in his media that he uses for his dendrobiums, because he grows a lot from seed. This has been grown from seed. Yeah, so this is one of his own seedlings. And he's very heavy on the grit. So even though it's been in this pot quite a while, it's got air in there, and I doubt if it's breaking down. But I would like to see new roots in that central area. That would be good. But anyway, we're going to get some blooms. We'll live with that for a while. Now this is my other infundibulum cross. This is Formosum cross with infundibulum. And when this new growth took off last year, I thought, at last I've rescued the plant, because this one's been struggling. It's still not happy. But it's a strong cane. That's the important thing. Yeah? Good storage organ. Okay, the leaves aren't brilliant, but it's a good strong cane. And I've just noticed there's a good swelling at the base. This desperately needs a repot, but I was reluctant to disturb it when it's not exactly happy and has no new growths. But it looks like there's a good swelling there, and there's a serious chance that that's a bud starting, because it certainly ain't a leaf. But on this cane, it started and aborted. It never matured. This one hasn't bloomed for a while now. It has bloomed for me, but not for a while. So maybe this time. It looks green. I have to keep my eye on that. But this, again, with infundibulum in it, it's a black hair type, as is Formosum. It definitely got too much light last year, that's for sure. That's what knocked most of the leaves off of this cane. And this one was slightly more shaded. But nonetheless, it's not a happy plant. It needs a repot, and it needs some new roots. It has roots, it's not like there aren't any. But it's not happy for one reason or another. But maybe we'll get a bloom. Again, massive blooms for the size of the plant. Absolutely massive. That's that one. Right, this is the nice Epidendrum. This is Comet Valley Orange Star. And we usually have a little look at the blooms poking out the top of the shelf with all the other plants on. We don't look at the plant. I thought it might be, as it's down, worth having a look. Some of its unusual patterns. This spike here is a double spike. it actually branched as it started to grow. Now, I haven't seen that before. That's new. This spike looked as though it was going to abort and then decided to grow, and which it now is. This is a perfectly normal spike doing the normal thing, as are the other three. But then on top of that, we got a spike coming out the side of an old cane with a root starting to grow. They do strange. And then down here, don't all shout at once, we have a kiki. I don't think this one's produced kikis before. They do. I mean, it's not something unusual for a reed stem epidendrum, the radicans type. They can produce a total mass of kikis that take over the whole plant, which I'd rather it didn't do. But there is a kiki already with one root and a flower spike with one root. So I just thought we'd have a look at the plants. It's very rarely filmed as an entirety. It's got quite a good root system. It hasn't long been repotted, so it's currently depending on its existing roots, and it's probably going to have to wait for some more new growths before it gets new roots. But the ones it's got are good enough to keep that plant going. So yeah, I thought we'd have a quick look at the plant, as we don't very often. That's that one. Well, we certainly don't look at this one very often. The reason should be obvious. It's a tatty, straggly looking object. It's probably one of my least favourite orchids, and yet it's a dendrobium. It's allegedly a nobile type, and the longer I keep it, the more I think it just took quite a while to get back into its proper season. You get some nobiles that really are early, you know, they're still in winter when they get their buds going, in, you know, sort of middle to the end of January, and others that don't bloom until spring. And this one's always bloomed in the summer, but this one is currently budding all over the place, and according to my records, that's early. But this plant has got scale in round the base, and also they're getting up onto the leaves. But I'm about to do you know, a bug treatment for the start of the year, so this plant will get hit hard. You can see them there under that leaf, yeah? And it's the time of year where if there's any that manage to get through the winter, they'll get going, same as the plants do, yeah? Bugs bugs like this time of year as well. So this plant will get extra treatment when I get there. But I'm not doing a special treatment just for one plant. You can see I'm making sure it doesn't touch anything at the moment, but they might be slightly mobile, certainly the crawler stage. They are mobile, but then they're not racers, you know, they're not 100-meter sprinters. They do move in very short little bursts, and it's not quick. So it's not like they can transfer to one plant to another while you have a coffee, you know. But this needs a flipping good tidy up, needs a repot, needs some bug treatment, and it needs some of these older tatty canes taken off and sorting out, basically. It's just a straggly, ugly plant. I mean, it might do better hanging, you know, might do better mounted, might look a bit better. And the weight of the canes would hold them closer together rather than them all trying. I mean, you can see the sheer length of the canes, and unlike a lot of nobiles, they're not big, strong, thick canes like this would be. Yeah? They're wibbly wobbly ones with tiny little bases. So it's a straggly plant, but it does have attractive blooms. I think that's the only reason it's still here and not fertilising the hedge. But we do have buds. I certainly didn't notice those last time I watered it. They're pushing out in quite a few places. Yeah. So we've got blooms to come on this. Certainly not going to be anywhere near as many blooms as last time. You can see all the stumpy spikes where it bloomed last time. There were a lot of blooms last time round. This cane, that one round the back, this one, and this one. They all had blooms on. Well, it's not going to be as good as that this time round, but at least we'll have some. Yeah. You know, anyway, that's that one. Bug City, that one at the moment. Little tights. Still, I must admit, my bugs are right down to next to nothing. You know, I often spend a whole watering session and don't find any. So I'm well on top of them, shall we say, but for some reason it's not that one's escaped, they've just managed to hang on there. And it could be that these canes are just covered in sheaths and they're getting in behind there and missing out on the treatment. And so that's all it needs. It doesn't, and these are really stiff woody canes on this one. Sorry, sheaths. I reckon that's what's doing it with this one. They're in behind there. Still, I shall do what I can when I get round to it soon. I'm sorry about the noise with the filming, but these are the days I want now, this time of year. Basically good bright light, that's hazy sun, not full shiny blue sky sun. Hazy sun, so good bright light, yeah? Good temperature. I mean, it hovers, it gets to around 27.5, and then the extractor and the inlet fan kick on and take it down to about 25. Then the fogger kicks in because the humidity's dropped and builds up again, and it just keeps cycling around like this. Both the fans are on, the top one's on number 2, not hurricane, but heading up towards storm force, and this one's on. This one doesn't actually oscillate anymore, but still does its job. So this is growing. This is growing stuff now. Good bright light, good temperature, not dropping down quite so much at night, and good air movement and good humidity. So come on, you lot, let's get at it. Come on, grow, bloom, do stuff. This is your environment. This is how you like it. So come on, let's have some oomph. But yeah, things are getting going quite nicely now. I'm well pleased. Finished watering that section. I haven't done all my pots. Basically, I got round as far as that edge there. So we've got this bit to do tomorrow. If I find anything, I'll add it on the end. I might even just start a new video and get this one ready. In fact, I will. It's Wednesday today. This can be Thursday morning's video, and then Friday morning's video I'll film tomorrow. Are you confused? Because I am. Anyway, thanks for dropping by, and there's more things to see that I haven't got to yet, so there will be another what's going on and type of video, and we'll go from there. See you next time.